There is a version of you that would terrify your current self. Not because it is stronger, not because it is smarter, but because it is silent. A version of you that does not argue with impulses, does not negotiate with cravings, does not justify weakness. A version of you that simply acts quietly, immediately, without hesitation. Most people will never encounter this version because it requires entering a kind of inner stillness that the modern mind is terrified of. I am called the ice monk, shaped by the northern winds of Greece and the soft, invisible power of Taoist internal discipline. And today, I will teach you something Epictetus passed down to those brave enough to listen. Weak habits do not break through force. They break through silence. And once you learn this, your old life will no longer feel like yours. The mirror of the modern man. There is a young man whose story echoes your own. Let me take you to the place where I met him. A hidden coastline in northern Greece, where the mountains collapse into the Aegean like sleeping giants. The air is cold, the wind sharp, the waves relentless. He came to me with the same pain many carry quietly. I don't understand why I can't break this habit. It wasn't the habit itself that haunted him. It was the cycle. Every night he planned. Every morning he broke the plan. Every afternoon he promised himself he would try again. Every evening he justified his failure with gentle lies. He lived in a constant loop of negotiation. I'll start at 5. No, at 8. No, tomorrow. Actually, next week, when things calm down. This one time doesn't count. He thought discipline was about convincing himself to do what he already knew was right. But convincing is begging. Persuasion is weakness wearing a suit. Epictetus saw this exact pattern 2,000 years ago. He said it plainly. Difficulties show a man's true character. And when I looked at the young man standing before me, I realized his true struggle wasn't the habit. It was the noise, the mind that never stops talking, the inner voice that never shuts up, the internal debater that negotiates you into mediocrity. Ancient philosophers understood something we've forgotten. Your greatest enemy is the conversation you entertain inside yourself. So before I spoke to him, I let him sit in silence. 10 minutes, then 20, then 30. And in that silence, his heartbeat grew louder than his excuses. He was awakening what Epictetus and the Taoists both knew. The silent method begins with understanding a paradox that every ancient culture discovered independently. Noise weakens action. Silence strengthens identity. In the northern mountains where I trained, my teachers spoke constantly of the quiet door, a principle shared by both Stoics and Taoists. Epictetus believed that freedom begins with absolute clarity about what is yours and what is not. Taoists believed that mastery begins when you stop forcing outcomes and begin moving in alignment with natural flow. Both pointed to a truth modern people refuse to see. The more noise inside you, the weaker your discipline becomes. Imagine two fighters. One screams, charges, thrashes. The other stands still, breath slow, eyes unblinking, empty yet focused. The world fears the loud fighter, but masters fear the silent one. Why? Because silence means the mind has already decided, and a decided mind cannot be broken. Epictetus taught this to slaves, soldiers, and emperors. No man is free until he learns to discipline his mind. But discipline to him was not aggression. It was simplicity. Do not argue. Do not explain. Do not justify. Act. This is the core of the ancient system. A weak habit survives only through internal dialogue. Remove the dialogue, and the habit dies. This is why temptation often fades after a few minutes. Its power depends on your willingness to speak to it. And the Taoists said the same. If you do not feed the desire, it starves. Not through war, not through pressure, but through absence, through silence, where weak habits are actually born. Now let me speak directly to you. You are not weak because you struggle. You are weak because you negotiate. Every time you say, "I'll start in 5 minutes," you give your brain time to sabotage you. Every time you say, "This one time won't hurt," you revive the identity you're trying to bury. Your habits are not psychological problems, they are identity problems. Let me show you how this works inside your mind. First layer, biology. Your brain loves predictability. It wants to conserve energy. Habits are efficient, even destructive ones. So when you try to change, the body sends signals, cravings, restlessness, fatigue, micro-stress. These make you think the habit has power, but it doesn't. It is just biology resisting change. Second layer, psychology. Your brain is a master negotiator. It knows your weaknesses, comfort, convenience, emotional escape. So it whispers, "Just today. You've had a long week. You deserve this. You can restart tomorrow." Epictetus understood this. He believed the mind will betray you unless trained to obey a higher order. Third layer, identity. Here lies the real enemy, the version of you that still believes the habit belongs to you. Habits cling to identity like vines to stone. They survive not because they are strong, but because you still call them yours. Epictetus said, "It is not events that disturb us, but the view we take of them." What disturbs you is not the habit. It is your belief that the habit is part of who you are. Silence breaks this bond. Silence says, "That is not me anymore." And with each silent action, identity shifts. Slowly at first, then violently, then permanently. Act before the mind wakes up. Here is the most important rule you will ever hear from me. The moment you decide, you must act. Not 5 minutes later. Not after you think. Immediately. Epictetus trained his students to move before thoughts had time to form. To commit before the inner negotiator woke up. He knew what modern neuroscience now confirms. You have a 2 to 5 second window before the emotional brain takes control. If you act inside that window, you bypass decades of conditioning. That is the silent method. The moment the impulse appears, you act without speaking to it. If the action is good, you do it immediately. If the action is harmful, you reject it instantly. No delay, no mental debate, no inner voice. The Taoists describe this state as action without forcing. In practice, it looks like this. You feel the urge to scroll. Phone goes face down, silently. Impulse to procrastinate. You stand, open the laptop, begin, silently. Desire to eat junk. You walk away, silently. No emotions, no performance, no dramatic resistance, just pure, surgical action. This is what people misunderstand. Discipline is not about intensity. It is about immediacy. The longer you think, the weaker you become. The faster you act, the freer you become. Where transformation actually happens. Every strong identity is built on a simple truth. Repetition reshapes the self. Epictetus knew this. So did the Taoists. So did the Spartans, the samurai, the monks. The mind is like flowing water. Every action carves a channel. Every channel becomes a river. Every river becomes a destiny. But here is the hidden danger. Every time you negotiate with a weak habit, you carve the wrong river. This is why consistency matters. Not because of streaks or calendars, but because your identity cannot shift if your actions contradict each other. In the forge where I trained, we shaped steel every morning. If the blacksmith stopped even for a minute, the metal cooled, hardened, and had to be reheated. A waste of time, effort, energy. Discipline works the same way. A gap is a moment where the old self returns. A gap is, "That's enough for today. I'll skip just once. I'm tired. I'll try later." Gaps are how old identities breathe. But when you act without gaps, without negotiation, without hesitation, the brain finally surrenders. And something extraordinary happens. The old identity becomes foreign, uncomfortable, impossible to return to. That is the moment transformation begins. Preparing your identity before weakness arrives. Ancient warriors never entered battle unprepared. Before the fight, they sharpened blades. Before the march, they packed provisions. Before the storm, they set anchors. But modern people try to fight temptation in the moment of temptation. That is why they lose. Epictetus taught something radical. You must decide who you are long before the world tests you. The Taoists taught the same. The tree bends when young. When old, it breaks. Identity must be shaped before the moment of pressure. This is called pre-decision. Let me give you modern examples. Want to stop scrolling at night? Your phone sleeps across the room before you feel temptation. Want to wake up early? Your clothes, water, alarm are prepared before bed. Want to avoid junk food? You never bring it home. Want to stop watching what destroys your focus or morality? You block the websites before the craving hits. These are not hacks. These are identity fortifications. And in ancient times, the same principles existed. Spartans slept near their shields, so they would never wake unprepared. Samurai wrote death poems nightly to prepare for battle the next day. Taoist monks cleaned their study before meditation, always preparing the path. The message is timeless. Do not trust your future self to be stronger than your current self. Build walls, create barriers, remove access, clear the battlefield. When the moment of weakness arrives, your identity will already be decided. Where the old self dies, quietly, if you follow the silent method, something strange happens. At first, you will feel resistance, a kind of inner shaking. Your mind isn't used to being ignored. Your impulses will shout, your cravings will bargain, your excuses will scream. But every silent action you take tightens the grip on your new identity. Until one day, you wake up and realize the old habit is not hard to resist. It simply feels irrelevant. It no longer belongs to you. That is the transformation. Not dramatic, not explosive, not cinematic. Quiet, precise, inevitable. Epictetus knew this. He believed the greatest victory is the one that leaves no scars. And the Taoists believe the greatest transformation is the one that leaves no sound. You become like winter, reshaping the landscape without noise. You become like the mountain stream, cutting stone without force. You become like the ice monk, enduring without effort, flowing without resistance. This is the silent method. This is the path of endure and flow. If this philosophy resonates with you, subscribe and join me on the cold, disciplined, unbreakable path. Your transformation begins right now, and it begins in silence.